All right, let's get started. Welcome, everyone. This is our last colloquium session. It had been the time when we were hoping to do poster presentations of everyone's final projects. And and obviously that's not going to work out. But we want to hear from the people. We want to have one last time for the people who are heading off to chat with the people who are still here. We want to talk, one last time about all that, getting people together. I know this is a weird way to end the semester. It's not what we all wanted. We wanted to be able to say goodbye to people in person. We wanted to be able to say goodbye to our family and our friends and our extended now academic family, but it's not working out that way. We will try to have a gathering sometime in the fall, if that's possible, for people who might still be in town. I know some people are going far away, but hopefully we'll be able to get at least some people together in person, and we'll always stay in touch and let people know what's going on. So I want to welcome you. I mean, if this were graduation day, we would have a reception, as we've done every year in Science 1. We would have a cake that Joyce would have gotten for us. We'd have a chance to have your family and friends together to talk, but that's not going to happen. So today, this will be our final time to talk as this group, and then we'll stay connected in other ways going forward. So what I want to do today is our agenda is pretty simple. I want to we're going to hear from each of the students who are graduating, and I think I have everybody on here. I've got a slide for each of you, and if you haven't graduated, if you haven't defended yet, I have a slide so that you have a spot to talk. And I know I said in my email 30 seconds, and Pam was just astonished that I would try and force you into 30 seconds. But try and keep it tight, because the beauty is we got a big class this year. And tell us, what you're working on and what your findings were. And let us know one exciting thing that you learned about your project. And I'll give you a moment to think about that exciting thing you learned about your topic. Keep it to 30 seconds or a minute. We'll try and get through that in about 10 or 15 minutes. Then if any of the faculty members, and you're welcome to, you don't have to, but if anyone wants to say anything, people are willing to talk about, just for a few minutes, again, another 30, 60-second comment about, reflecting on the research reports, reflecting on the year, thinking about how things worked well or how things didn't work well. That's all okay. Then I've assembled some pictures that I want to show people about some of the stuff that's happened over the years. This is our first class started in 2016. So this is our 16, 17, 18, 19, our fourth class that we have, we let in the fall. And so the third class is now graduating, and it's been growing and getting much more exciting. And I've got some pictures that we can show, and I'll post these to Facebook later on so people can see the presentation again if I go through it too fast. And then we'll see where we are with time. If we want to do chit chat as a group, or if we want to break out into, I can randomly break people into groups and we can do a little networking. We have an alum with us, Ricky Phillips, who, I don't know if you want her to reflect on anything, Ricky, about being out in the world. I'll give you that chance around the faculty comment section. You can be, as someone who's gone beyond the student stage now, you're more than welcome to, I would love to hear a little bit from you as well. All right, so that's where we stand, and let's get started. Okay, so I've got pictures for everyone who's graduating this year, and if I've left you off, I'm sorry, and we'll catch you up at the end. But first, Natalia, do you want to talk a little bit about your project?
Yeah, I can start off. So my project was locating abandoned oil and gas wells using a UAV-based magnetic system. And so we were working with the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and comparing the methods that they used to locate abandoned oil and gas wells compared to this new method that we were proposing. There's about over 3 million abandoned oil and gas wells nationwide and almost 50,000 in New York State. And we don't know how much they're contributing to state or federal emissions because we just don't know where these wells are. So we can't assess them or plug them if they need to be plugged, to show like the success of our work in a 360 acre field. They using the methods the DEC used to use. They found 11 wells and we found 75. And a cool finding was I learned a lot about UAV policy and how that's evolving and kind of how state and local governments are contradicting federal government orders. And actually landed a job and I'm going to be working on an Air Force base. So my knowledge of aviation policy definitely helps me with that, which was surprising to me because I didn't think that would be a skill I would need.
Tell us 1 second about your job. Because you do have a job, and if anyone else has a job coming up that I don't know about, we can talk about it as well when you get there. But what's your job?
Yeah, so I'm going to be a scientist at BAE Systems in a town outside of Salt Lake City, starting a month.
Great. Congratulations, Natalia. That's outstanding.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Zachary.
Okay, so I did mine on community land trust. It was based on a rudimentary meta-analysis on current literature and mission statements of community land trusts, and I focused on 8 variables that I found within the literature. That was engagement, community control, a tripartite board of trustees, activism, democratic gentrification, affordability, affordable housing, and displacement. So I compared the literature and the mission statements to see if they had an agreement on the variables and what they had to say about those variables. And I did a focus on the variable of engagement. And I wanted to know if engagement was as critical as some of the literature had to say. So I wanted to see what the other literature had to say about engagement. And I wanted to see if the mission statements also emphasized engagement. And what I found was that the agreement of the mission statements and literature is that they focused on affordability and gentrification mostly. The mission statements did not discuss engagement at all. Only 7% of the mission statements had anything to say about engagement, and literature only had 46% discussion of engagement. So I wasn't able to understand exactly, I wasn't able to come to a conclusion of if engagement wasn't as essential as the literature was saying, because the literature that did discuss engagement said that it was extremely paramount. So it was just very interesting to see the differences of the literature and the mission statements, kind of like the difference between professionalization and academic. So that was a very interesting difference that I found. Pretty much, I think the most interesting thing of my research is just community land trusts in general and how they're crucial to provide affordable housing and how they are so limited. There's only about 200, a little over 200 community land trusts in America. We always talk about affordable housing problems and issues that communities are having, but it seems like we're not really discussing this viable alternative that can provide for so many people.
Okay, excellent. And I saw in the chat that Chelsea said was thrilled to hear about community land trusts. And I think what you've started is we'll be able to use what you've done. If it's okay, pass it off to her and she can start building on this idea too and digging more and more into that. So
of course,
it's great to see that interest going. Okay, great. Thank you. And congratulations to all of you who have defended so far. The next person up is Caitlin. Caitlin can't be with us today because of her work. She's been a part-time student. She was in our first class, and she defended just a few days ago, and she talked a lot about food. And actually, many of us have seen her presentation because she came into colloquium to talk about her research, and she's been talking about food gentrification and the idea of and trying to broaden it beyond just geography and thinking about in terms of accessibility and thinking about culture and education and understanding. And so she was working with Pam and had a really nice thesis as well. Ryan. Where are you? I knew you were here somewhere. Oh, we can't hear you, Ryan. You're muted. Well, I'll unmute you.
Okay.
Start all over again.
So my research was community energy planning, and I sought to understand what the challenges were to creating an energy plan, as well as what were the barriers to implementing. And I interviewed 7 energy planners and sustainability coordinators from around the country. And my research showed that there are challenges to creating an energy plan are around people not agreeing on what needs to get done, as well as how energy projects are going to be financed. And then issues around overcoming those issues in a community energy plan are providing things like incentives to developers, effective community engagement, broad financing, and then overall incentivization.
Are you okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you. Excellent. And that's something, yeah, that we'll be building on as well. There are other people interested in energy, and that's something that I'm hoping to build on your work as well. So that was a great job there. The next up was Eliana, who also has a job working for the Northeast Organic Food Association, and she was not able to join us, if I'm correct. Yeah, she wasn't able to join us today, but she, food's been a big deal for many of our students, and she, as someone who started Binghamton Food Rescue, she decided to look at Binghamton food rescues all over the country and trying to understand how they operated. So she interviewed people who ran these operations and tried to figure out their financing, their missions, and how they are organized, and how they measure success, as you can see by the slide here that I took a quick shot of. So, so that was what her work. And again, she also has a job working for the Northeast Organic Food Association that she started, I think, last week, because we pushed up her defense so that she could start. Tyler, I saw you here somewhere. You want to talk about your presentation and what you were doing for your research?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I want to do was examine the way organizational structure impacts sustainability performance on college campuses across the United States. What I did was I looked at 359 institutions of higher education and all of the data that they reported to STARS, which is Sustainability Tracking Assessment and Rating System, as part of ASHE, the Association for the Advancement of Sustainability in Higher Education. What I looked at for all those universities across the board was, do they have a sustainability office? Do they have a sustainability officer? And do they have a sustainability committee? And how many full-time equivalent employees they all have. I compared that to their overall STARS score, which is a score given to them based on their overall performance in a variety of areas: academic, operations, student engagement, things of that nature. And what I found was of the 3 different things: the officer, the office, and the committee, having a sustainability office definitely was more determinant of an institution's overall STAR score, indicating a greater impact of specialization and formalization. I also found that having all 3 of those components reflected greater organizational commitment and resulted in a greater score. And I also found that having greater staffing, so more full-time equivalent employees, also increased a university STAR score.
Great. Excellent. Very, very interesting. And again, something that we're going to be building on in the future, because I know that me and Carl and Pam and a number of us here are involved with sustainability at the university. And so this is something that we can really get to, hopefully start to take some lessons for going forward. All right, now, I believe that's everyone who's defended. Am I correct in that regard? Is there anyone who's defended? If you did raise your hands and I didn't put you on the defense list. Now I'm going to ask those of you who haven't defended to say something briefly about where you're going. I know a couple of you are getting ready to defend this week. I know some of you are thinking about doing it, a little later on and going into the summer. But if you're here and when you get to your picture, let's hear a little bit about what you're doing. So these are you, the people pushing to the finish line. Adam.
Okay, so hey guys, my work this semester has been on sustainability within businesses, and to learn about that, I've been working on interviewing individuals who work directly for the businesses, various types of businesses, as sustainability professionals, to discover what kind of sustainability systems they implement into the businesses. Sorry, yeah, since I haven't defended, I don't really know exactly how to introduce my study, but I am currently working on compiling all of my findings and writing that out, and it goes over important topics like what fundamental factors of sustainability already relate to businesses, such as things like workforce turnover, and then other various factors that stem out of what businesses traditionally care about and hit more of a larger sustainability systemic factors, like community growth and development by working with clients or investors or consumers as that community, and how that can develop in sustainable ways, or how a business, once it reaches a certain scale, can work more relating on their environmental impacts, and things like that, like how current reports for businesses are put into social responsibility or environmental, social, and corporate governance. These are a bunch of different measuring factors for businesses to gauge things that are similar to sustainability, but not exactly hitting all of the bases, and how businesses are growing from there to become more sustainable in general.
Okay, good. All right, good. And you'll be hopefully wrapping up sometime. You will be wrapping up sometime soon, I know. And that's in it. It's a nice, interesting take. I mean, we're seeing here, and we'll keep seeing unfold. You've been looking at the private sector, something that we don't typically deal a lot with, but we need to deal with in the community, in terms of sustainable communities in general, because they are part of the communities. And we're hearing the different components, the universities and their sustainability, and the nonprofits that are pushing for it. So that's a nice and will be an excellent complement to the kind of work that we're doing. Annisia. A little bit. Speak up. Try it again.
Is this better?
You're very tinny. That sounds like you're getting better.
Is this better? My speakers are all the way up.
Okay.
Okay, should I just start?
Yes, I think that's okay.
Okay. I worked as a consultant for the New York City Housing Authority, the Sustainability Programs Department, and I interviewed their residents about the newly installed in-sink food disposers, which is aimed at reducing pest and waste. Of the 74 people interviewed in the post-installation interviews, most of them seen a significant reduction in everything but pest. So the amount of waste that they throw out, the amount of waste that's in their trash, trips to the trash chute, and overall food waste has decreased. So overall, the program is achieving all the goals that NYCHA has set out, except for like waste, pest reduction. But seeing how there won't be a large food source in people's home, the pest should gradually the pest problems should gradually alleviate.
Excellent. and NYCHA, the New York City Housing Authority. You've been working there, so you've got this on the ground experience, and one of our alums is already there, Kiana Julian. And so working in the sustainability office. So that's really nice compliment to and continuation of what she started and where you're going with things. So that's really nice. And I know you'll be defending soon as well. And
Yes.
it'll be nice to wrap that up. Great. Jillian, are you here? Did I see you?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, you're here. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so my thesis project was a qualitative study that aimed at determining how water utilities located in the northeastern region, so that's New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Vermont, Massachusetts, how these are adapting to the impacts of climate change. So like Ryan, I conducted phone interviews with these water utility officials. And I got people from Massachusetts, New York, Vermont, and PA. 4 out of the 9, but with everything that's going on, people weren't able to do interviews with me. But I did these interviews in order to gain an understanding of the climate change impacts that they're currently seeing, the barriers that they've come across, and what adaptations they're currently implementing to help mitigate some of these issues. So through this research, I was able to find that common impacts were increased frequency of severe storms and wind events, increased erosion, runoff turbidity, and flash flooding, as well as infrastructure damage. So they have pipes that a lot of the utilities said that they had pipes that were cross waterways, and with the increased events that they're having, these were becoming damaged, or they were trying to figure out if they actually needed them or if they didn't. Energy source reliability, and then capacity fluctuations. So some barriers that were found was the balancing act between revenues and operating costs, inconsistent funding, and actually permitting. A lot of these places are within wetlands, or they deal with rivers or endangered species. So getting the correct permitting to be able to do certain projects was difficult. And then also investment from the boards and the full organization into these different projects. A lot of people don't want to invest in it because they don't understand how it really impacts. So monitoring programs are one of the things that they're implementing to figure out what exactly is happening to their organization, how it's affecting them. And so many of the water utilities are, like I said, implementing monitoring systems and programs. And 3 common adaptation goals that came out of it were figuring out inefficiencies, redundancies, and resilience shortcomings. A lot of the water utility officials talked about resilience, which is a really, really awesome thing that I got from it. I'm hoping to produce a final piece of literature that can be looked at kind of as a guide for other water utilities on, what innovative programs are coming out of these certain utilities, what initiatives, projects. And then something exciting that came out of it was that a lot of the utilities talked about renewable energy sources and how they're investing into these. Solar is a very large part, because for some reason I didn't think that energy was such a big thing, but with getting water to communities, energy is such a big issue. And also the passion for environmental protection and sustainability was like crazy from these people, and that made me really excited to go kind of into this type of field.
Excellent. And I also like that comment that you had in there, that you're hoping that this is something that other utilities will be able to use as a guide at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think about a lot of the work that people here will be doing, is we'll be starting down the path of what will our communities be able to use to make them more sustainable. And so I really appreciate that you had that in there as a goal. Next up is, I pushed the wrong button. Let's see. Jessica.
So my research was interviewing economic development professionals. I got people from all across the country, and what I was aiming to find out was what businesses they target, and I was particularly interested in if they target small businesses and kind of how they use small businesses in their strategies. I also wanted to find out, you know, how they measure their success of their strategies that they use, and also, what was it? Oh, and if they have any unintended consequences from using those strategies, like if they have any benefits or challenges that they see. And then lastly, what kind of sustainability considerations they take. So I wanted to know, do they consider the impacts of their strategies on social equity within their communities and with environmental protection? So my findings were that they don't really target small businesses, but they offer small businesses support, and that is in various forms. And all the communities that I interviewed, they all relied on partnerships. That was really important to implementing their strategies. And only one community really talked about the impacts of their strategies on social equity. So I thought that was kind of interesting, you know, because economic development has such a direct connection to social equity, but a lot of these professionals don't really consider it. And that's all.
That's it. That's great. And I know you'll be wrapping up soon, and it'll be interesting, and I can't wait to read. I think you're defending tomorrow morning, if I'm right.
Yeah, I emailed you my thesis to read.
Excellent. And I am interested in the unintended consequences, one of the things that we're always worried about in terms of sustainable communities. Great. Kevin, I do not believe is with us today, but Kevin is working on the looking at state level policies about getting food into institutions, specifically in schools. It's a spin-off. It's based on his research and based on the work that he's been doing in the school system, whose name I forget at the moment, but trying to figure out making that farm to school connection better. Michael, are you here?
Hello.
Oh, you are here. Yes. Okay. Excellent. Oh, there you are. Okay.
Okay. So my project looks at the tax impacts of FEMA buyouts in 3 communities in the Binghamton area, 2 in the town of Union and 1 in the town of Vestal. This is a total of over 100 buyout properties. And I use publicly available tax data to assess changes in tax due to these buyouts. I'm still currently going through the analysis, but I expected to find that this is now I'm expecting to find that this is a small percentage of the total taxes of the whole municipality. So it was, this is smaller than what we expected. However, I still think that at a larger scale, this could potentially result in possibly a decreased quality of public services, or maybe even place a greater tax burden on the remaining houses that weren't bought out. And I also looked briefly at current land usage of the buyouts and found that most of the buyouts are now just lawns, following the open space regulations by FEMA for buyouts. And in the discussion, I hope to advocate for sort of more green infrastructure projects on these properties to improve flood resilience.
Excellent. Okay, and you'll be wrapping that up soon, and then in that intersection of green infrastructure and finances, that, again, it illustrates the complexity and the richness of the thing of what we call sustainable communities. Rachel.
Wow, what is that picture from? Okay, so I did mine on the perceptions of genetically modified foods and the corresponding food labels. So I did a survey that was sent out to the bio and NVI undergrads here. I had a lot of data from that, so I'll just tell you guys the ones that I at least thought were interesting. So a big one is just the term genetically modified foods versus the term bioengineered foods, because there's now a bioengineered label. I had the respondents do a word association with that, and then I sorted those words into themes. And with genetically modified foods, the main theme was agriculture, but with bioengineered foods, it was science and laboratory type things. So that was interesting that they associate the different terms for the same thing with different themes. And then the other big thing that I found was that when they were just asked if how like the non-GMO verified label or the bioengineered label affect their purchasing decisions, most of them said it doesn't, like at all. They're like, I don't care about it, it's a label, whatever. But then I had them do a bunch of choice experiments in which they had to choose between non-GMO, no label, bioengineered, and then saying like they had no preference for milk, apples, eggs, cereal, ground beef, corn, and salt, and salmon. And so I thought kind of like with the products where GMOs were well known, like salmon and corn, they'd be like, oh yeah, like I'll take the non-GMO. The others, they probably wouldn't. But what ended up happening was between 50 and 60% for every single one of them, except for salt, they chose the non-GMO version. And that's just kind of regardless of if a GMO version of the product actually exists, because like with eggs and milk, there isn't one. And then with salt, which was really interesting because like you can't have GMO salts because it's not an organism. About 30% of them still chose the non-GMO version of salt. So I found that really interesting. So yeah, those are my cool little findings from that.
Yeah. Well, and not so little, because this is about education and perceptions and understanding what's going on in the world. And that's where we spend a lot of time thinking about and wrestling with and convincing people with evidence. And we need to understand where people are with their stories. So I can't wait to see that. And Stacy.
Okay, so my thesis is focused on the revitalizations of shopping malls. And what that has to do is like what to do with them, specifically dead malls. So over the semester, I've been working with John Fraser as well as George and Alexi, and trying to hone in a little bit more because that is quite a broad topic. So what I decided to do was focus on Oakdale Mall, and also I'm going to use data which is more qualitative than quantitative. And by doing that, I will email different mall people that are like in charge of different malls. I'm sorry, my dog is running around. And and use a different what was my train of thought? I guess business agendas and how they thought about doing the mall or revitalizing it. And I'm going to try to contact them. They're usually pretty open to that. I've done that before. And I'm going to use that and decide what is best for Oakdale. And specifically, I'm going to focus on Rust Belt malls, specifically up here in on the East Coast. So far, when I did my lit review and finding out what is the best options for like dead malls overall, is more of like a mixed use and more innovative approaches. And that's where the excitement for this project came for me, because like I think it's one of those things where you get a chance to rehabilitate old dead spaces and make it a little more sustainable and a little more up to the times, I guess, and which will last a little longer. So with my thesis, I'm hoping to give a couple of recommendations for Oakdale Mall and, just in general. Okay, excellent. And again, bringing us back to the community level of things, which is a great way to have wrap. Did I miss anyone? I believe I got everyone who's graduating. Is there anyone who I missed? And I'm going to ask the faculty if they have any reflections on these papers or on their, on the last year or two in the program. And please raise your hand and I'll just pull you in order. I think that's the easiest way to do it. If you want to say something. But I think what is really, we see here the wide range of topics. We see here the different spheres in which people are operating. We see the different impacts that we, of the things that people are doing. And so it's really exciting to see all these projects. I can't wait to look at all of them. I think I've told almost all of you, but I want to, if I'm not on your committee, even if you are, once you have a finalized version that the graduate school has accepted, email me that PDF. We do want to make them available to the public. We are putting together a website finally, and we're going to put all the things up there so that people can understand the kinds of work that we do and can help learn from that. So these aren't just things that were done for your, for you, for the program, for your practice and your knowledge, but add this extra dimension of getting them out into the world. All right, Louisa.
Yeah, thanks, George. So hi everyone. It's good to see at least a few of you in my window right now and hear from a lot of you. So I've been part of the program committee for the program for the last 4 years. And the difference between what I heard today and what we heard 4 years ago, and this is not to insult anyone in the first class, we were all figuring it out at that time, but it's vast. And I'm really impressed with the level of work that you presented today and the level of sort of scientific thought you've put into it, and that these are theses really today. And so congratulations to all of you who are graduating this spring or this summer. It's been a pleasure to have many of you in my classes. You've added a lot to the discussion in particular, and you've just been good people to be around. So I too am leaving actually to go to Penn State this summer. So we leave together, many of us. And I just wanted to say congratulations. Again, I'm really impressed with how quickly things have become more professional and really impressive work over the last just 4 years. And I hope you guys are setting a trend for the program for the future. Well done.
Thank you. Pam?
Yeah, so I want to echo everything that Louisa said. I've been very impressed with the theses that I've seen this semester, and just really excited about what that means for our program, and wanted to also talk to the students who are continuing on next year, because I know there are a lot of you also here, as well as the students who are graduating, that this has been a really challenging semester for everybody, I know, and I'm really happy that everybody's really stuck with it. And I hope that you continue to kind of stick with it, and not just in terms of those returning in the fall, but just the idea of sustainability and constantly kind of challenging what that means and thinking about it as the world changes, and taking everything that you've learned from this 3 E's perspective and figuring out what it all means for communities after a pandemic. I mean, I think that I'm just so thrilled that we created this program, because more and more I see its relevance, and you all will be very well situated to go out there and help solve these increasingly complex problems.
Excellent. Thank you, Pam. And Christina?
So I'm not really a faculty member in the program, but I have had a chance to have 7 of the students that are here today, some of whom are getting ready to graduate, and one who I think has come back, Ashley, but special guest. So I've had Michael, Zach, Jessica, Adam, Annisia, Ashley, and Natalia, all in research methods. And so I met all of you my first semester, not my first semester, your first semester in the program. And so I know what it was like to have you in 510 when you were just starting out. And that's one thing that's particularly gratifying, to see how much you've grown intellectually. And I'm really proud of that. But I'm also particularly proud, and Pam echoed some of this. I mean, I think about the word sustainable and what it means to last and be durable. Another favorite word that I have is resilient. And I think just how hard it is. And for those of you who I didn't have, I'm mentoring 3 people through this process with their theses, Jessica, Adam, and Annisia. And I know each one of them have had challenges along the way in listening to people talk about their research that they've been doing. I know everyone who did a thesis this semester has been resilient, has had things that they hadn't thought were going to happen that have been hard, and yet you've picked yourself up and said, I can do this. This isn't what I planned for, but I can do this. And I'm just really proud of people persevering and being resilient and caring so much about what they're doing, that they want to complete this and that they want to do this well, and are just really committed. And so I'm just really proud of all of you.
Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate all the work that the faculty has put into all of these students. The program is growing and getting stronger and getting better. As Louisa has said, our work all together in the class and in the theses and the jobs that people are getting, are getting better and better. And it is a real, I'm happy to have been part of this program, and I'm thrilled to see it going and growing. And I hope that the students can take, the students that are going on can take inspiration from those who started that, whose projects you've heard today, and realized what good work you can do. And so I'm excited for all of that. All right, so you all know that I take a gazillion pictures. And so I have put some of these pictures into a little presentation, which I don't, if I was really good, I would have put music and timings onto everything. But basically, I'm just going to flip through a bunch of slides, about 10 or 15 seconds on each. And I will, which would be really hard for me, but I won't comment on them. But it is taking a look at sustainable communities over the years, focusing on, I'm already commenting, focusing on the students who are leaving us this year. Okay, that's it. It was a great, it's been a great couple of years with you guys, 2 or 3 years, depending on who you are. And I really appreciated getting to know everyone. And I want to stay in contact with everyone. I hope you take inspiration and take forward the things that you've learned, and really do push for public service for the planet. Stay in contact with the university, with the faculty, stay in contact with each other. As I've always said, this is your first network. And I hope that come this fall, we'll be able to bring you guys, those of you who are around, back to celebrate in person. But if not, we'll always stay in touch, and we'll have you back as a reunion at some point. All right, I think that's, unless anyone has any other final words, I think that's it. And I will see some of you in an hour in class, and the rest of you I will see. Don't worry about it. We'll always stay in touch. All right, take care, everyone.